representatives in making these requests, and I think there's 6 here today. These representatives include Glenn Gruenhagen of Glencoe, Eric Lucero of Dayton, Shane Mecklin of Clear Lake, Tim Miller of Prindsburg, Linda Runbeck of Circle Pines, Cal Barr of East Bethel, John Poston of Lakeshore, Dwayne Quam of Byron, and Jeremy Munson of Lake Crystal. We are making this request on 3 direct grounds. First, Representative Omar improperly and deliberately filed for a tax status for which she was not qualified.
Ilhan Omar gets kicked out of Congress by Democrats in a shameful way.
An illegal action in both federal and state law. The Minnesota Campaign Finance Board found on June 6th of this year that she illegally used campaign funds to pay a law firm to review her tax records. The Campaign Finance Board exposed crystal clear probable cause for a tax fraud or tax evasion investigation when they discovered that Representative Omar filed as married and filing jointly with Mr. Ahmad Hersey in 2014 and 2015. During those years, she was legally married to Mr. Ahmad Elmi. Did the illegal filing produce a lower tax liability for the couple? Did her illegal tax filing bring her tax exemption for which she was not legally qualified? Usually people choose the tax filing status that yields them the lowest tax liability. Also, the board shared that the couple filed jointly during 2 specific years. Ilhan Omar and Ahmad Hersey have been together as a couple for 17 years. Given her record of crimes and violations of so many laws, it may be worth evaluating her claims of status in those other years as well. Second, Representative Omar lived together simultaneously with her first and second husbands at the same addresses in Minnesota and North Dakota in 2009 through 2011. The tax enforcers may need to check if she used an illegal tax filing status and obtained tax deductions, including standard deduction levels for which she was not qualified in those years. Third, we know that Representative Omar took improper kickbacks from 3 Minnesota colleges in 2017 when she oversaw their state budgets in 2017. Under campaign pressure, she returned those kickbacks in 2018. It is worth checking to see if she reported the kickbacks as income in 2017 or deducted the paybacks as expenses in 2018. 5 grounds for an investigation include corruption in public office and tax evasions on grounds of illegal filing status, improper deductions, concealed income from kickbacks, and improper claims for expenses. We are also aware of Representative Omar's pattern of improper conduct. She has been fined by the Campaign Finance Board for diverting campaign funds for an unpermitted political trip to Orlando. She has been directed to pay back her expenses for uncovered political trips to Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Florida, and Washington, D.C. She has been punished for conversion of campaign funds to pay for personal legal and accounting services. She has flouted laws regarding the filing of her personal financial data in a way that distorted the political campaign process. On June 25th, I asked my Congresswoman Angie Craig to launch an investigation into these improprieties. That went nowhere. She said, "Do it yourself." So on July 23rd, I asked the U.S. House Ethics Committee to investigate Representative Omar. That request is currently being reviewed by the Office of Congressional Ethics. On that same day, I launched OmarTruth.com in an effort to rally Minnesotans and Americans to help bring political pressure to bring about a congressional investigation. After 2 weeks, we have over 44,000 citizens expressing their strong desire to bring about a full investigation, and the list is growing. I will be adding today's request to the facts available on OmarTruth.com. Today, I and 9 other representatives are asking the nonpartisan federal and state tax enforcers to open investigations. We are simply asking them to do their jobs. You guys have anything? Questions, anyone?
Do state lawmakers have sway to influence the IRS or Minnesota Department of Revenue? Have you successfully asked for such things in the past? Is there precedent?
I think certainly there's precedent, and I think it's incumbent upon us, Mary, lawmakers, the media, and others, when they see very clear, blatant violations of our laws, to find every way we can to appeal to the people who can investigate and prosecute those laws. And that's what we're doing here today.
How would a state lawmaker's request be different, though, than an average citizen? That's what I'm asking. Do you have any special sway or ability to request something?
You know, I don't think so. You know, I guess the fact that we each represent 40,000 people might be helpful, and it might be something that that those individuals take under consideration. But this gives us an ability, I think, to, in an organized, deliberative fashion, say, we have asked the Minnesota Department of Revenue to do their job. We have asked the IRS to do their job. Before we got here today, we don't know if they have been fully informed and appraised of these facts. After today, we can be sure that they have been fully informed and appraised of these facts.
So President Trump has an obvious place in this as the head of the federal executive branch. Would you like...
All right, let's get into this, because what you just watched is one of those moments that perfectly captures why Americans are losing trust in Washington, and why the crowd reaction you heard wasn't random, staged, or manufactured outrage, but a genuine response to years of frustration boiling over. From the very beginning, the energy in that room tells you everything you need to know. This wasn't some quiet procedural disagreement. This was a moment where the political class finally had to confront the consequences of its own double standards. Ilhan Omar wasn't being silenced, she wasn't being targeted for who she is, and she certainly wasn't being treated unfairly. She was being confronted with a documented record of ethical issues, financial violations, and conduct that would have ended the career of almost any ordinary American long ago. Let's rewind for a second and strip away the emotional speeches, the accusations of racism, and the dramatic floor speeches meant for social media clips. What actually happened here is simple. 10 Minnesota state representatives formally requested investigations into Ilhan Omar based on specific, detailed allegations. Not vibes, not feelings, not tweets. Allegations backed by findings from the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board itself. That's not a right-wing think tank. That's not conservative media. That's an official body saying, yes, there is probable cause here. We're talking about filing joint tax returns with a man she was not legally married to while still being married to someone else. That's not a paperwork mistake. That's not confusing TurboTax settings. That's illegal. Every single American watching this knows it. If you did that, the IRS wouldn't ask about your feelings. They wouldn't care about your backstory. You'd be audited, fined, and possibly charged, period. Then you have campaign funds being used like a personal checking account. Money donated by supporters, people who believed in her message, used to pay for personal legal and accounting services. Again, this isn't speculation. She was fined for this, ordered to pay money back, that's a fact. Add in unapproved political trips, distorted financial filings, and questionable kickbacks tied to college budgets she oversaw, and you don't have a misunderstanding. You have a pattern. And patterns matter. One mistake can be forgiven. 2 mistakes raise eyebrows. A long list of violations tells a story. The story here is that Ilhan Omar has repeatedly treated the rules as optional, assuming that political protection would always shield her from consequences. Now here, where things get really telling. The moment accountability enters the room, Democrats immediately pivot to identity politics. Suddenly this isn't about tax filings or campaign finance laws. Suddenly it's about Islamophobia, racism, and targeting women of color. This is the oldest trick in the book. When you can't defend the facts, you attack the motives of the people asking the questions. Notice what they don't do. They don't refute the tax filings. They don't explain why campaign funds were misused. They don't deny the fines. Instead, they give speeches about love, poverty, healthcare, and personal hardship. Emotional, yes. Relevant to the accusations, not even remotely. This is something Americans are getting very tired of. We've watched for years as Democrats demanded Donald Trump's tax returns with zero evidence of wrongdoing. Zero. It was treated as a moral emergency. Now, when actual evidence exists, when official boards find violations, when lawmakers formally request investigations, suddenly we're told asking questions is hateful. And let's be honest about the committee removal. This wasn't some extreme punishment. She wasn't expelled from Congress. She wasn't stripped of every assignment. She was removed from the Foreign Affairs Committee because her repeated statements and conduct raised legitimate concerns about her judgment and representation on the world stage. That's not persecution, that's responsibility. When you represent the United States internationally, your words matter, your actions matter, your credibility matters. And when that credibility is undermined by ethical scandals and inflammatory rhetoric, it's completely reasonable to say maybe this isn't the right committee for you. The crowd reaction says it all. People are done pretending this is normal. They're done watching one set of rules apply to everyday Americans and another set apply to politically protected elites. They're done being told to ignore evidence because criticizing the wrong person is somehow forbidden. And here's the bigger picture that matters more than Ilhan Omar herself. This moment is about whether accountability still exists in America. It's about whether the law still means something or whether political affiliation determines innocence. It's about whether elected officials are servants of the people or members of an untouchable class. If Democrats truly believed in transparency, they'd welcome a full investigation. If there's nothing to hide, then sunlight would only clear her name. The resistance tells you everything you need to know. Innocent people don't panic when investigators show up. Innocent people don't need the media to scream racism to shield them from scrutiny. This is why so many Americans are waking up, not because of one scandal but because of the pattern: corruption excused, rules bent, accountability delayed, and always the same defense strategy when the walls start closing in. So as we wrap this up, understand this clearly. This isn't about revenge, it's not about politics. It's about restoring a basic principle that used to unite Americans across party lines. Nobody is above the law, not a congresswoman, not a celebrity, not a president. Nobody. If we allow politicians to break the rules while demanding obedience from the rest of us, then we no longer have a republic, we have a ruling class. And moments like this, uncomfortable as they are exactly how that gets challenged. If you believe accountability matters, if you believe the law should apply equally to everyone, and if you're tired of the media telling you not to trust your own eyes and ears, then make sure you don't stay silent. Share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and support those who are demanding real investigations instead of political cover-ups. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next, because stories like this aren't going away, and neither is the fight for truth.